Oh, honest to God, I mean,
Not when this guy's kicking my butt.
I never slept a good night's sleep at the fire station.
I did pretty good on
You tone it down a little bit?
I said Jason.
This later won the first year. You know, I came on the Rockford Fire Department when I got hired. I was 29 years old, and it was everything that I ever wanted it to be. It was my dream job. Most of the time in all the fire stations that I ever worked at, we always sat on the apparatus floor and just talked about everything. We talked about family, we talked about life, we talked about previous occupations, we talked about calls. And because of that, I think we got comfortable with each other, and we got comfortable in the job that we were doing.
You know, part of our job is to take care of each other. You know, you go into fire, it's 2 in, 2 out for a reason. You go in with somebody, you come back with them. And the whole fire service is built on that teamwork and that family. And so we don't really do anything by yourself.
Department-wide, I think there's a lot of burnout. I think there's a lot of triggering events for past trauma. And I think that there's just the stress of not only what we're doing, but the schedule or taking time away from your family. And if you don't take the time to deal with that stress, it mounts very quickly.
I was always asked at family parties and, you know, when we would meet new people, what's the worst call you ever went out on? You know, I could tell them, yeah, this is the worst call I ever went out on, but they wouldn't understand. So my basic answer to them is, the worst call I go out on, it's every call. Because when that person picks up the phone and they dial 911, that's the worst day of their life. You know, they're calling because they think they have a big problem. And that's the worst call that we go out on. My accident that I had, it happened on February 10th, 2010. I was one of the instructors for the academy, been doing it for years. It was a snowy day. It had snowed the day before, and so there was a lot of snow around the house. And this house was situated right off the Winnebago Street Bridge, and it was a 2-story. I got done with 2 groups, and as soon as the second group came down, I called and I said, you know, there's too many holes on this side. We're gonna move the ladders down. I said, but I've got a little bit of snow towards the eave. I said, can somebody throw me up a squeegee? So somebody threw it up. The other groups were all changing, and I'm up there by myself. And I stepped off the roofer to squeegee it off, and my foot slipped. Because I landed on my heels, I had calcaneus fractures in my heels, in both of them. I broke my coccyx when I landed on my back. I sustained a L2 burst fracture and then fractured 3 more vertebrae. And as soon as I landed, my first thoughts were, can I move my fingers and my toes? And I did. But I was in such pain. It was the worst pain that I've ever experienced in my life. Jody here, she means a ton to me. When I had my fall off the roof while we were training recruits, she was there right on the scene. She was one of the paramedics. And I remember saying, this is good. This is good. I got a good paramedic here. Had another good paramedic too with Erica. And she got me stabilized, got me to the hospital. That's probably why I'm walking today, is because the way they stabilized me, my L2 was gone. There was nothing there. If I would have tried to stand up, the doctor says I would have just flopped over, you know, and I could have probably severed something. But these guys got me stabilized and got me to the hospital and probably saved me.
I met Joe Cascio one of our very first days at the academy. Actually, I think it was the first day of our academy class. Joe Cascio held a union local 413 position. So his injury occurred later. I wasn't part of his crew at that time, but I mean, it's news flies, pretty fast around the fire stations and stuff. And I recall that hearing about it, and it was almost unbelievable or unimaginable that, here this larger than life character had an accident and was injured. And then even after hearing the story of what exactly happened, you really didn't expect him to be injured.
Got to the hospital. In that 7 days that I was up there, my wife said I had over 350 visitors. That was firefighters, that was friends, it was family. It was firefighters outside our jurisdiction. I remember I was still dopey and just kind of out of it. And seeing these guys come in, and guys would buy food for the guys that were sitting with me. Guys would sit for an hour, 2, 3 hours. The union staged a firefighter at my door 24 hours a day as like a guard. And to this day, my wife still talks about that. And my kids too, they were like, I've never seen anything like this. The camaraderie, the family atmosphere that came in there. These guys were eating lunches, they were eating sub sandwiches, and just talking stories while I'm sitting there sleeping. To this day, I will never ever be able to thank everybody that helped me. The injury that I sustained, and consequently other injuries that I've had in my career, helped us understand that, man, when something big happens, people come together and say, what can we do? How can we make this better for somebody? It's different than your regular family because they've never been trained in things like this. They've never experienced the trauma that we go out on calls for.
I will say that being in the fire service, any given day, you can run a gamut of different calls. Everything from structure fires to full codes. And obviously, everyone's affected differently.
It could eat on some people. The one problem that you have on the fire department, and I think this happens with a lot of people, it's happened to me, is you get hardened. You go out on so many calls, it's hard to be sad after a while because you get numb to it.
I mean, normal people don't see as many dead people as any firefighter or cop ever sees.
Right.
You just don't. You go to a couple funerals and you see them. But if you can come to the station and laugh with people who are going through the same thing, your family's not going through the same thing. They don't understand, and you can't put that burden on them.
Like you say, it's a deflection, it's a relief, it gets your
It
mind
was a
off it.
precursor to what we got going on now with the mental health.
But like
It really was. It's how we got through
That's how we
it.
got through everything.
you, Marinelli, Lanny Wong, all these people, everybody's got their people, Greg, people at this table are these guys' people, and told you, this isn't your emergency. You can't personalize it. Sometimes you're going to. So do the best you can do without personalizing it.
You always have a partner on the ambulance. You always have a partner in the fire. These are the things that we do together, and that's where peer support comes from, is the peer-to-peer, making sure you take care of that person right here.
When you reach out to a member of the peer support team, you're going to get someone who is able to empathize with you and has possibly shared that same experience. You're going to get someone who can listen and can direct you to the resources that are going to be able to help you work through that. And whatever need you may have, we will find that resource for you and get you connected.
If you have diabetes, you're sick, you go to the doctor. If you have depression or anxiety, you go see a counselor. Like, you're getting treatment for something that's wrong. And that's how it should be looked at, and there shouldn't be any other kind of stigma attached to it. Ask for help. If you're struggling, ask for help. It's out there.
My advice to the new firefighters are learn a job and go to your family and say, hey, look, there are going to be days when I come home and I'm not feeling like talking about what I did. Just give me some space and let yourself deal with it. And if you need to talk to anybody, talk to your family. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, come and talk to a guy at the fire department, because they've been there. If you have a problem, get a hold of a firefighter. If you don't feel comfortable talking to a firefighter that's on the job, get a hold of somebody that's retired. They've been there too. They've all been there. Talk to somebody that you feel comfortable with. And this job will be the best job that you've ever done in your life. And I didn't swear that much.